crime for which you were convicted, either after trial or after hearing. Do you understand? You would remember that. Are you still on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're done. You, Miss Horn, is your behavior is a little off. I'm telling you.
Because I was framed.
Just a second. Your behavior is off. And I've told you why. I've given you specific reasons why. You had two parts of your complaint. One tell me about, and Mr. Zadie called the police. You were taken from the premises. Mm-hmm. You were arrested, spent the night in jail, mailed yourself out. And this happened in 2020.
Correct.
In November of 2020. Your lawsuit is for false arrest and actual damages. You had to post bail and for filing a false police report. The reason that you have delayed for 2 years in bringing this case against him is because you say you had another action pending.
Correct, Your Honor.
What was the nature of the other action that you had pending?
It was a speeding issue with the police.
Well, it's not a speeding issue with the police. Were you stopped for speeding? Were you arrested for speeding?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
You were arrested for speeding?
Yeah, and they called it a 2800 VC, if my memory serves me correct.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's, I guess, evading.
Look into it.
In what city and state do you live?
Irvine, California.
Let me understand this. Very few people are arrested for speeding. You remember what you were arrested for, sir? You weren't arrested for speeding.
They called it evading an officer because I didn't pull over right away.
So you were evading an officer. Let's try that, Sarah.
Evading a police officer in a vehicle. It's vehicle code 2800-1.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, what does it say?
Prohibits evading an officer in a vehicle, which means willfully fleeing from a police officer when the officer is pursuing the person in a car or on a bike. The offense is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail.
Okay, so you had a misdemeanor pending, right? Anything else?
No, that was it.
Anything else historically?
Yes, I did have historical priors and cases and stuff from my past. Yes, I did.
Recent past or distant past?
Distant past.
How distant?
Years. I want to say 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to go into 2004. So you had this case pending, and you felt that it was inappropriate to bring a civil case against him.
Yeah, because I didn't want the cases to intertwine, Your Honor.
They weren't going to intertwine. The case that he brought against you was eventually dismissed.
Correct.
In what month and year was it dismissed?
It was dismissed the same month, about 2 weeks after that.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. So let me understand this. He alleged that you assaulted him or threatened him. You were taken into custody. The DA examined the case and decided not to prosecute it.
Correct.
And that was 2 years ago.
Correct.
Well, I don't know who gave you advice, sir, or whether you did this on your own, but bringing a civil case against someone for something has no impact whatsoever on a pending criminal case, be it a felony or a misdemeanor. You know, if you were driving in a car and someone hit you in the rear in November of 2020, and you waited 2 years to bring that because you had this evading a police officer action and you thought that that was a valid reason, your case would be dismissed for the hit in the rear and whatever injuries you had, because you're supposed to bring these things in a timely fashion.
I understand.
2 years is not a timely fashion. Now that I've suggested that to you, I would like to hear what you say transpired in November 2020, to the best of your recollection.
On November the 9th, 2020, me and my former landlord, Alex Zadidi over here, we had an argument about a guest that I had over.
Okay. You had an argument over the phone or in person?
Over the phone.
Tell me how that phone call was initiated.
He texted me some things, and I called him because I wanted to...
Okay. He texted you. Do you have a copy of that text?
No, I don't have the text.
Do you recall what that text said?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it said.
I told him that he has to get his girlfriend out of the house because she's been coming in every day and night, staying there.
Okay. So you said, in effect, I rented you this room, not your girlfriend.
Correct.
You got to get her out of the house.
Yes.
Okay.
I had
you remember her
already
name?
addressed to him
just
prior.
just a second. You remember her name?
Not.
What was her name?
Twana.
Now, when you rented the room in May, just a second. When you rented the room in May and you moved in, did Tawana move in with you?
She did not move in with me.
So when you rented the room for yourself in May, you rented the room as a single person?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And when did you bring Tawana into the room?
It would be once in a while.
No. What month, sir?
I don't recall the exact month.
What month, sir?
It started happening like back in August, every day. It started one day, then every other day, and then it became constant day and night.
For how long?
For a long, long time, till towards the November when it just went out of proportion.
The argument was about having his girlfriend, according to you, practically living there.
Right.
And you didn't want her there.
No.
Okay, because you rented a room to a single man who, until the girlfriend started to come in, I assume you didn't have trouble with.
Right.
So that's what your text message said to him in November. And as a result of that text message, you called him on the phone. I'm just trying to lay out the story.
Okay.
So you called him on the phone, and you said what to him, and he said what to you?
I don't recall exactly what I said to him, but I remember he told me to tell her, get the out, get out my house, get the out right now. Your girlfriend is a. He was saying a bunch of derogatory things over the phone to me, and then hung up in my face. I'm working at the time, so when I came back.
Did you call your girlfriend?
No, I didn't call her.
Did you text her?
We speak regularly. We're talking all
No,
the time.
then.
Yeah, she knew about it. She did.
Don't tell me what she knew. I just asked you if you texted her or called her.
Yeah, I did.
You did. And when you texted or called her, was she in the house? Was she in your room?
No, she was gone already at this time. When we were arguing,
just
she
a
was.
second. Is that because he told her to leave?
No, she was leaving already. She had work to go to. She wasn't living there. She had her own place and job in Lakewood, California. And I would tell him that all the time, but he would always insinuate that, oh, no, she's living there. I'm like, no, she's not. She pays $2,000 in rent.
He lives in the house with you.
Right.
Now, before Tawana, had you had any difficulty with him? You
None
moved
at
in
all.
May. May, did you have any difficulty? No.
No.
June, did you have any difficulty?
No.
July, did you have any difficulty?
No.
No. You didn't have difficulty until Tawana came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the difficulty. So he told you in a very rude way, if I accept that, to get Tawana out of his house.
Correct, Your Honor.
Then you came home from work. What time did you get home from work?
About 9-ish.
And Tawana was gone.
Yes, she was gone.
Had she taken her things?
There was nothing for her to take. She didn't bring stuff over there. She wasn't living there.
No, but she came over there and stayed a few days a week and never had
Maybe
any
an
stuff.
overnight bag.
Okay,
That's
but
it.
she took it with her when she
Yeah,
left.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got home about 9 o'clock, and what happened?
I got home at 9 and I said, don't disrespect me and my woman. You know, this is a woman I
Okay.
love.
When you got home, you walked in the front door. Where was he?
He was in the kitchen and he had a female guest there too. That was
He's
there
allowed
for
to have a
weeks.
female guest. It's his house.
Yeah, right. The pot calling the kettle black, basically.
No,
Hypocrisy.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, if you rent a room to a single guy, did you have a lease agreement with him?
Yeah, I did have a lease
Did
agreement.
you have a written lease?
Yes, I did.
Did your written lease provide that you were going to live there?
Yes, it did.
Just you?
Yes.
Well, you bring in another person, that's in violation of the lease.
That's not in violation of the lease because there was nothing in the lease that said I couldn't have guests. He actually said I could have guests.
Guest is one thing. A guest is somebody that doesn't come with an overnight bag regularly.
he said
one
I could
day,
have an overnight
2
guest.
days, 3 days, 4 days. That's more than an occasional guest. That's somebody that comes and goes even when you're not there. Because according to you, you contacted Tawana while you were at work and she was at the house.
That's false.
Well, I thought you contacted her, and then you said she left. She took a few things with her, probably just an overnight bag.
No, she was not going there when I wasn't there. That's false.
Are you saying that she was not in your room when you were not home?
When I was not there, no,
Yeah.
she would not be there.
That true?
No, he had made a key to her. She would come as she pleased.
Did you make
That's
her a key?
false. That's absolutely false.
Did you make her a key?
No, that's
is my
absolutely
question.
false. No, I
Do you
didn't make her
still
a key.
speak to Tawana?
No, I don't. We kind of fell out of touch.
If I were to call Tawana and ask her whether or not you made a key, would she tell me she did or she didn't?
She would say that I didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Great. Phone number.
I have it in my stamp.
I don't have her number saved here.
I'm not exactly buying the fact that Tawana did not have access to the home even when you weren't there, even if it was just a half hour before you came home from work, sir. You work until 9 o'clock every night?
Your Honor, I had this to say about the whole key situation. I gave her my key when I was locked up in jail from his false police report. I gave her my property, and she had my key then to help me get the stuff out of out of his home, but I never went and made her a copy of a key
Did she
anywhere.
ever use your key other than when you were incarcerated?
No.
He says she did. So now you're having this discussion. He's in the kitchen. You come home from work at 9 o'clock, and
Yeah.
you went into the kitchen to look for him.
Correct.
And when you found him, tell me what happened.
We had just a brief, maybe 2-minute conversation or argument, discourse about what the things that he said. And I said, you know, don't be disrespectful to my woman and me. And I said, you know, you're a bitch. I called him a bitch. I did. But I never threatened him,
No, you
harassed
said
him.
you're what?
That's it.
What does that mean? That's a half a sentence.
Well,
He was calling him a bitch. You are a bitch.
Oh, you were calling him.
yes, because he
He's
says
a
these
guy.
things over the phone.
He's a guy. Why don't
Yeah.
you call him a...
Because he says all these things over the phone and he gets real loud
gender
and,
neutral at
he's
this
a
point.
he's a
This is
completely different
gender-
person when he's on the
Just a
phone
second.
than when I'm in
You
his.
think that's gender neutral?
Yeah, at this point.
Well, there you go. That's why I have you here. Okie dokie.
So-
Okay, so you were going, don't call me that. You called him a name, and then things got heated, and then what happened?
No, things didn't get heated. After that, he said, "Oh, that's how you want to do it?" And then I said, "If you want to get me evicted, you have to go through it the right way and do it legally and give me a 30-day eviction."
No, he must have said to you, I want you out of here because you called me a name.
It
If you
wasn't
said, if
about-
you want me evicted, then he had to have said something about getting you out.
He didn't really see, I don't remember him mentioning anything about me getting out. I just remember the fact that he called the police to get
No,
me
before
out.
he called the police. You're still in the kitchen. Do you ever leave the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I went to my room.
Okay. Before you went to your room, did you hear him on the phone with the police?
I did.
Before you went
Yes.
to your room?
Yes.
Okay. And
And I didn't sit there and listen to his phone call. I took a video and I started recording because I didn't want to be made out to look like the guilty party. And I had it pretty much live streaming the whole time, which was an Instagram video.
Can
to
I see it?
prove, No, I don't have the video. The
but
police
then it
deleted
doesn't
it.
exist. If you
Yeah.
don't have it, it doesn't
Yeah, I
exist for
understand.
my purpose.
Understood. Understood.
But you had it then.
Yeah, I did have it then.
You did. And the police came,
Yes.
and I assume if the police came, you showed them the video.
Yeah, I was showing it to him.
And despite showing them the video, they took you into custody.
Despite showing them the video, they
Just a
took me
second.
into custody.
Despite looking at the video,
Yes.
which I haven't
They
seen.
didn't look at the video. They refused to look at it.
well, let's go one step further. You see, Mr. Davis, this is why you bring actions right away, so that not only everybody's memory is fresh, but if I wanted to call a police officer
where you're
who
coming.
responded or whatever, that's why you bring an action right away.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So now you're taken into custody and you have a video that is totally, according to you, exculpatory.
I don't know the definition.
Exculpatory means it says that you were not guilty of anything.
Okay.
And you appear in court?
No, I didn't appear in court.
Never?
No, never.
Well, what happened to the case?
The case was thrown out. It was a DA reject because there was insufficient evidence that I did anything to him.
And you never showed the district attorney your video?
I didn't get a chance to because the video was deleted by the police.
The police department deleted your video?
Yeah, they did.
You are a terrible victim of circumstance, Mr. Davis. Did you ever make a complaint that the police department deleted your video that would be exculpatory?
No.
Why not? I would if I had.
Maybe
Now,
ignorance of the law, I guess.
what?
I said maybe ignorance of the law, I guess. Not knowing. When you know better, you do
No,
better.
no, Mr. Davis. Actually, I mean, sometimes you really don't know what the law is, but you were smart enough, you said, to tell me, because you knew I would say, why wait 2 years, that you didn't want this action to conflict with another action. Well,
Yeah.
that's a two-process thinker.
I've had something like that happen to me before where I had a criminal case and a civil case pending, and the dates were kind of intertwining and messing, and they're about to get in the way of my civil case. So I didn't want to make that same mistake with this case, Your Honor.
Okay, so you want to tell me what your version of the events were of November 9th of 2020?
Yes, Your Honor. I had gone to Mexico for a business trip meeting, and I had my friend who was visiting from Mexico staying at my place. And at that same time, I had another roommate who was renting the room next to Ryan Davis's room. His name was Dave. I received a call from Dave on November 9th that it's constant sex going on.
Okay, so you received a call from the other person living in your house who you
Right.
were renting a room to.
Right.
Okay, and then, don't tell me what he said. Can't tell me, that's all hearsay.
Well, I've heard prior to all the sexual acts taking place.
Listen to me. You personally,
Yes.
when you were home,
Yes.
okay, so you heard what was going on behind his closed
Yes.
doors.
Right. Day and night.
Okay.
Like there's
fine.
no tomorrow.
Okay, well, maybe, maybe jealous. Okay.
He said he was
Disrespectful.
jealous
Okay, so he was becoming an annoying tenant
Yes.
for whatever reason.
Yes.
Keep going. You sent him a text. He called you. You had heated words. He comes home from work. You're in the kitchen.
Yes.
He comes into the kitchen and
And I told him, Ryan, we've gone through this many times before. I've addressed this to you about your girlfriend coming here all the time, day and night, and now she's here every day. What he was doing was sneaking her in late at night, and that's how I will know that she snuck back in. There were times I came home from work, and she was already there when Ryan wasn't even there, so she had the key, obviously.
okay, now let's go to November 9th.
November 9, I confronted him. I said that this is just way too much. My other roommate wants to leave. He cannot take it anymore.
And
And then he said, well, she isn't here. And my...
okay, he said she wasn't here. Keep
Yes.
going.
Then he cussed at my friend who was visiting from Mexico. He said, get this bitch out of here.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt.
And
Okay.
I said, you can talk to her.
Okay, let's go.
Right. Then he went into his room. He came back. He brought a samurai sword with him, and he flashed it at me. I'm going to slice you in half like a butter.
Okay.
What?
And I'm like shocked at that time. Don't know what's going on with him because he's just changing character.
you're really gonna-
I'm scared of my life. I'm
Okay.
scared of my guests.
Okay, and then what happened? So he
And
came
then
out
I said,
with,
you need to get out of here. You need to move.
and then he went back. He didn't do anything with the
Yeah.
sword.
No, he didn't. He went back in the room with the sword. He put it there. Then he came back, and he pushed me against the wall. As he was pushing me, I tried to block him by putting my two hands up. And when he pushed me, it bruised. I had a cut on my wrist, but there was a bruise.
Okay.
And
now,
I
at what
said, I'm going to
point?
call the police.
Okay, so you called the police when he came back out of his room the second time, this time without the
Yes.
sword. And the police took a report.
Yes.
Do you have that report?
Yes,
I'd
right
like
here,
to
you-
see it. Mr. Davis, do you have a copy of the police report or
I
any
have it right
follow-up
here, too,
report?
Your
I'd like to see that too. Mr. Davis, where did you get the sword from?
My girlfriend at the time,
Which girlfriend?
Twana,
When did she get it for you?
she got it during my birthday, for a birthday gift.
When's your birthday?
October 31st.
And this happened on November 9th.
Correct.
Between October 31st and November 9th, did you have occasion to show Mrs. Zadie prior to November 9th? So
Never,
between
Your Honor.
31st and the 8th, did you show Mr. Zadie the sword?
Never, Your Honor. He's
Just
a liar.
just a sec. Just answer my question. October 31st to November 8th, did you ever show Mr. Zadie the sword?
No, Your Honor.
No.
No.
Okay. So unless he went into your room,
He went into my room.
unless he went into your room prior to November 9th, there was no way he would have seen the sword.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go away on this business trip, sir?
On the 9th.
That day.
Yes, in the morning.
And on what day did you first see this sword that was in his room?
On the evening of November 9th.
That was the first time, not his
First,
birthday, not second day, not third day. Okay. Does his room have a lock on it, by the way?
From inside.
From inside. Mr. Davis, were you on probation at the time of this incident for
Yes.
something in Riverside
Yes,
that
Your
involved a fraud?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that wasn't a fraud dating back to 2004.
It was dating back
No, it wasn't an incident.
for 2000 and I believe 15.
Okay. So when you told me before, and I'm not even going to have Whitney read it back, you said the last time you had this speeding little problem and evading police, I said, well, before that? And you said, yeah, I did before that in 2004.
Correct.
But that was a lie.
Which was like...
Just a second, that was a lie. You had another case involving a fraud in 2015
It wasn't.
on which you were on probation, which means that you were either found guilty or took a plea.
Correct.
Okay. And when the police officer, Mr. Davis, took down your statement, you said that while you acknowledged that you had a samurai sword in your room, you said you had never shown it to Mr. Zadie.
Correct, Your Honor.
You had never showed it at any time. Well, then how would
Never
he
at any
know
time.
that you had a samurai sword, sir, in your room when he called the police?
Because he was going in my room, I believe, when I was not there, going through my stuff.
Okay.
That's the only other way I can know that he was...
Okay. I'm not finished reading this, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
That's like the 2015 case. You just remembered. Do you have any other police reports that you'd like me to see, Mr. Davis?
Not a police report, but I have the bail bonds receipt that I paid, and
I'm not interested in your bail bonds receipt.
I have the DA reject.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, they rejected the case right here.
Yeah,
They refused
I'd like
to
to
file
see it.
charges. Your Honor, there's a conflicting story where he said he was left on the 9th because he was there 2 weeks with his guest prior to that. So how could he leave on the 9th if his guest was there 2 weeks prior to
I
the
asked him
9th?
when he left for his... Sir, you didn't understand the reason for my question. I wanted to know if he had been gone from October 31st, which was your birthday, to the 8th. That's why I asked him when he left on his business trip.
Correct.
And he said he didn't leave until the date of this incident. You want to say he left before?
He did
That would
leave
be
before.
interesting.
He
What?
did leave before.
He did.
Yes.
On what date did he leave?
I don't know the exact date, but I
A
know
week
it's-
before, 5 days before?
it was maybe about a few weeks before,
November 9th?
yeah, a few weeks
Then he
before
wouldn't have
that.
been able to see your sword because he wouldn't have been coming in and out of
He
your
was
room.
there from the 9th.
Well,
from
this
the
happened on the
31st
9th.
From the 31st to the 9th, he was there.
Well, you just told me he left 2 weeks before.
I'm saying he was gone before that date, and then on the 31st, between the 31st and the 9th, he was there at the place.
Okay, well, that's what he says. He said he was there, and the business was only 1 day. He left on the 9th, and he came home on the 9th. You said, no, he was there for 2 weeks before. Well, if he was there for 2 weeks before and you didn't get the sword until 31st of October, he could not have seen it by going in and out of your room. So you have to sort of get your story straight, sir. So he was there or not there, according to you?
was there.
He was there?
Correct.
Okay, good.
His guest was also there for about 2 weeks.
Just who cares about his guest? He owns the house.
Okay.
Okay, it was a misdemeanor case and they declined to prosecute it.
Correct.
So what? Your case is dismissed, Mr. Davis, for several reasons. It's dismissed because it was brought in an untimely fashion. It was brought 2 years after the fact for no valid reason.
Your Honor,
it's
it was a
dismissed for that.
pandemic.
It's dismissed for a second reason, because I find some of your testimony, sir, incredible. And one of the reasons I say that is because you were not forthcoming with a legitimate answer to me with regard to your prior history, which isn't always dispositive. But if you had something pending for evading the police, and you had something pending for evading the police while you were on probation for a crime for which you were convicted, either after trial or after hearing, do you understand? You would remember that. Are you still on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're done.
Hello, Judge. Case 2103, Horn versus Stewart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Horn, it is your allegation that the defendant, for whom you worked for a relatively short period of time, owes you some wages.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition to owing you wages, you are suing her because you claim she defamed you by calling you a drug addict.
And she went to my board telling them that I did other acts.
Well, you can't tell me what she told anybody else because that's hearsay.
Could I give you the evidence?
No, you have to wait until I'm finished.
Okay.
That's your claim, that she owes you money for wages that you weren't compensated for and that she defamed you. The defendant says that you were an hourly employee. You were, in fact, paid for the hours that you worked. I assume that you are claiming that she paid for the hours that she worked. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that after you separated, parted company, you posted some very damaging and defamatory comments on the internet about her organization. So why don't we start with you, Ms. Stewart, and tell me what kind of an organization you have.
Your Honor, what we do is that we provide opportunities for people who have substance abuse, behavioral health, who may need education services such as getting their GED. We do skills training. We have employers that will staff them as well. And we also provide substance abuse and behavioral health services.
Is it a 501c3 organization?
No, we are a for-profit company as a corporation.
And how many employees do you have?
We currently have 7 employees.
And when did Ms. Horn come to work for you, and what was she hired to do?
She was hired as the clinical director, and she started on July 21st, 2022.
Okay, before I go to Ms. Horn, I want you to tell me what special training did you have, or is it required to have? You're the director of this?
I'm the VP of operations.
Okay. Is there any special training that you had?
Besides having the master's in accounting, I have my own accounting firm.
Okay, so
I'm
you have a
well-equipped.
master's in accounting
Yes.
and you have your own firm.
Yes.
Okay, and you do operations
Yes.
for this. Okay, and Ms. Horn, I'd like you to tell me what your educational background. You were hired as the clinical director.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me about your educational background.
I've been in the field for 15 years. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I have my LPC, which is an independent licensure. And so when she wanted to do illegal practices.
No. You're getting ahead of yourself, Ms. Horn.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you answer an ad?
Yes, ma'am. I went for the interview, and when I showed up for the interview, she told me that I could not oversee the clinicians, BHTs, and case managers, and that I could not sign off on notes because I had an LPC. I got the board on the phone that day, and
You're getting far ahead of yourself, Ms. Horn, and I'm just telling you, who is this person?
My dad, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm just telling you that what you're doing is, by not just answering my questions, you're not serving your cause well.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't tell me what she told you she couldn't do. You started working for her on what date?
The date that I actually started working for her was July 27th, 2022.
And were you an hourly employee?
No, I was a salary employee. Could I show you?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sarah, would you bring up a July calendar for me? I want to see the days in July.
I have it.
Okay, so this was an offer, and it was a pretty nice job. Paid on a bi-weekly basis, $115,000 a year, with an increase the following year. The work offer was contingent upon a background check,
Yes, ma'am.
a drug test,
Yes, ma'am.
participation in training, and any other safety measurements for staffing. So between July 21st and July 27th, when you started, was a background check completed?
It was completed.
That's all I wanted to know, was completed. Was a drug test completed?
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
before she started. No.
Just a
ma'am.
second. Between July 21st and July 27th was a drug test conducted.
Yes, ma'am.
It was conducted, but on the 28th, her drug test was done on the 28th of July after she had started.
Okay, so you took it on the 28th.
Yes, ma'am.
I need from the 27th to August 3rd.
Yeah, the 27th was a Wednesday.
Yes.
August 3rd was the following Wednesday.
Okay, so she worked Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
And then the following
Monday and Tuesday.
The third
No,
would
ma'am.
be that Wednesday.
5 days.
No, ma'am. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the last week. Her grand opening was the Thursday of that week that I quit. And what she is talking about, I talked about at the beginning before I took the drug test, and they said that it was no problem. I take medication that's prescribed by doctors, and I have proof that I take medication by doctors, and I'm not a drug addict.
Well, I don't want to get into what medication that you take that's prescribed by doctors. I would assume that we're not talking about blood pressure medication, and we're not talking about medication for migraines, and we're not talking about stuff to take care of rashes on your arm.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let's say you worked there for 6 days. How much were you paid?
I was paid $55.29 an hour, but I worked those 7 days.
How much were you paid in total?
So the last paycheck that they gave me, $909.58.
May I see it?
Yes, ma'am. And I want to send up, I think I have the credit card because she had owed me money.
I just want
And
to
here are the days that I worked,
what is,
circled.
do you have a paycheck?
She did not give me a paycheck. The first one was a paycheck. The others were direct
I want to
deposit.
know how much she paid you in total. Let's have it.
So for just wages itself,
That's all I want to know.
I was paid.
You want to tell me, do you have records, Ms. Stewart, about how much the plaintiff was paid by your organization?
She received 2 checks. She was paid $1,903.38.
1,000,
$903.
and that was for,
When we did the drug test, she was gone for over 5 hours. Drug testing are supposed to be done before or after work hours. Then she returned back to the facility between 4:30 and 5 p.m. that day and said that she had an emergency, that her friend was in the hospital, and so she could not work anytime. Then after that, on the next pay period, Sherna wasn't.
she really only was with you for 1 week.
Yes.
Really only was with you for 1 week.
Correct. And then on the next pay period, because she was paid for those 3 days and the time that she took off, we put her on the hourly rate because she didn't work a solid 2 weeks. But at any rate, we paid her for the time and days she was there. And so we don't owe her any money. She was paid.
Well, you
in
were
full.
actually paid almost $2,000 and you were there for 5 days.
What she said was a lie. I never took off time.
Just a sec, I said something. Don't say what she said was a lie. You were paid almost $2,000 and you worked for 5 days.
7 days.
Well, when you went to take your drug test, what time did you leave?
Well, the other person.
What time did you leave?
I did not leave from anything. I did it on my own before I started.
So is what you're telling me that the defendant was incorrect when she said that
ma'am.
you were gone from the facility?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything to support that she was gone for 4 hours?
Ma'am, she was gone for half the day because that's when she ran into my office and said, hey, there's some stuff that's going to show up. Will I be fired? Or am I going to have a job? So
When did you have that discussion with her?
that was on the 28th of July.
Did you ask her what substances?
Yes.
Did she tell you?
Yes.
Okay. From my information, Ms. Horn,
Yes, ma'am.
how much do you think, in addition to the $19.03 that you were paid, do you think you're owed?
10 hours, ma'am.
10 hours. Which 10 hours?
That's from the week of the second week, not the first week, because I never left. I actually stayed late the day before their grand opening because she ordered a sofa.
Are you charging her for those hours that you stayed late?
Yes, because that's work.
No. Okay. What else? Right now we're just playing with time.
I passed everything, and I was told I would be fine.
Just a second. Who told you that? She?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she tell you you would be fine?
I went to her. I said, there's going to be a drug test. Here's the medications that I take.
On what date did you tell her that?
About the 28th, yeah.
On the 28th. Did you tell her that on the 21st?
No.
I'm just asking you.
No, because what happened that day was it was a confused interview where I was about to walk out.
Okay. Well, I'm getting unconfused. So you went into her before she got the results of the test and asked her specifically, these are the medications that I take. This is what's going to show up. Is it going to be a problem?
This is common, Your Honor.
Is who?
This is common in my field to take drug tests before all the field.
You're going to answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, if you knew that it might have been a problem, you did not tell that to her on the 21st of July or the 22nd or the 23rd or when you started, but not until either right before or right after you took the drug test. That's when you said you went into her office and said, these are the medications that I take. Is it going to be a problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Horn, actually, I'm glad you're here with your daughter.
May I talk to her for a minute?
No,
Okay.
you may not talk to
Could I show you a picture of the inside of the facility of what happened in that facility, please?
No. You left. And I
ma'am.
find that the records are so, actually, you don't have records, unless that's something that you want to show me. You wanted to
I
show
do.
me something about your employment hours? You were paid almost $2,000 for the few days you worked there. As far as I'm concerned, it didn't work out. You
Here's-
hated it there, and she wasn't crazy about you.
Because I had to leave because I was going to be violating state law and federal law, which she's already done, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask you, and you've been doing what you're doing for 15 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what job you had that lasted more than 3 years.
I've moved
Tell me who you worked for in the last 15 years, more than 3 years.
I can't because I was in graduate school and then I went to
So you weren't,
PhD.
just a second, so you weren't in this field for 15 years, you were in school,
I've been seeing clients since 2007.
privately.
No.
Well, what I asked you is, who did you work for in the last 15 years, more than 3 years?
University.
Is that where you went to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you went to school for how many years?
5 years.
Your father wants to have a word with you before I'm finishing up with this case. You want to have a conversation with her?
You're blowing it. You answer her question directly and don't go anywhere else.
Okay.
Was that helpful?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're leaving the salary that you think you're owed. You
Yes,
say
ma'am.
that the defendant called you a drug addict and thereby limited your ability in your chosen field. So show me, tell me.
I would like to submit the board allegations because everything.
Just a second.
And may I provide the timeline for what happened?
What I want to know is, what is this?
That is a falsified document.
No, just a second.
submitted
It
to
is
my
a
board.
document.
To my board stating that I did things that I did not do. I highlighted the bottom.
To your board
Just a
or to
second.
the board?
Shh. Okay, so this says a complaint was filed against you with the Arizona Board of Behavioral Health complaint alleges that you may have committed an act of unprofessional practice. If this is somebody filed a complaint against you.
She lodged a false complaint.
Shh. No, somebody lodged a complaint against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't say who lodged a complaint against you. It says a complaint has been filed. You didn't file this document.
Yes, she did.
Excuse me?
It's her signature at the bottom.
The types of documentation that were filed was list of medications, harassing and threatening emails and text messages, and budget left in desk. I don't know what that means.
She said I had all of my possessions, but how did she only have my budget?
I'm telling you that this is what it says.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? The CEO filed this document, and you swore to the accuracy of this document. Well, this report says that you were complaining that the person who was doing intake had to have a master's level. Don't look at any papers. That's what you were complaining.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
your first complaint.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
the person doing intake, and somebody said to you that the person who was doing intake was just taking basic information, and once the basic information was taken, they would be assigned to somebody else. But that's
Your
what
Honor,
it said.
She said that she wanted to get some substance use information. My state board gave me this paper that I'd like to submit.
Just a second. I don't care about your state board, actually. The question is, does she owe you any money? She doesn't owe you any money for salary. I've already determined that. I see what she was supposed to pay you. It's not that you were working there for days. You have hours that you think you want to be paid for. That's not happening. You were paid almost $2,000, and what I gather was a very acrimonious few days. I mean, you're talking about either 5 days or 7 days. You were compensated. Forget it. The only other thing that I have to determine is whether or not she called you a drug addict. Now, would you show me where she called you a drug addict?
It wasn't just the drug addict. It was the false documents that I
No.
did any
She's
damage.
allowed to file a complaint against you,
But I
madam.
never had a police
She's-
officer come to me, question me, or anything. So if I did it, they would have come to me.
Just a second. What I'm telling you is she is allowed to file a complaint against you.
Yes, ma'am.
They have a responsibility to look into the allegations of that complaint. Did they either sustain the allegations in this complaint? Well, this is just August, so I assume they haven't completed the investigation, or have they?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so they have not.
That's why I'm filing defamation, because this
Well,
is doing it on
what?
purpose.
I'll let you have one more go at it. You say she's doing this on purpose.
Hold on.
Do you have...
Yes, I have my father, who's a witness from court one day.
What court?
Can I explain?
Don't speak.
We were in court because they tried to file an injunction for harassment, and the judge, my dad...
Just a second. Went to file an injunction against you for harassment?
Yes, ma'am. Right after I went to the police.
Just a second. And were you served with a document?
No, ma'am.
Well, then how did you end up in court?
I saw the document on my door, and unlike the defendant,
Well,
I
that-
went to the court to take care of it. You can laugh all you want, but I took care of it.
You
She
have to be served
Just a-
with it.
I'm actually finished. I asked one question, and you tell me that you have the answer to that question. We're going to repeat the question. Whitney's going to, and don't go off on this question. Just stick to what the question was. She said they did this thing, it's sort of either retaliation or on purpose or...
She said, that's why I'm filing defamation, because she's doing it on purpose.
On purpose. Okay, and it was the on purpose, and you said you wanted your father to testify to that and on purpose. Now go. Stand up next to your daughter. You are limited to the following. You are limited to telling me proof that you have on behalf of your daughter that the defendant has filed these charges against her, not on purpose, because she absolutely did them on purpose, but I assume that you meant maliciously.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll hear you.
Okay, I'm going to keep this in secret.
Maliciously. What evidence do you have that the defendant filed this complaint and swore to this complaint maliciously?
I have no proof, but...
Then you have no proof. Then you can sit down.
Right, but
Then you-
that's not the question she asked.
All I want to know is maliciously. Now you can sit down. Okay, now we're going to get to the last question that I have for you, and then we're done. Do you have anything in writing where she called you a drug addict?
Your Honor, in the complaint to my board,
Okay, we're done. We're done. So now we're on your case. Now we're on your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for property damage. What property?
I will show you the documentation to the counterclaim.
Just a second. Don't tell me that you have documentation. It's a shattered window. When was the window shattered?
The window was actually shattered on August and let me make sure I get you accurate dates. I'm sorry.
Did you witness it being shattered?
No, ma'am.
If you didn't witness it being shattered, what proof do you have that if... Put your hand down.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down.
I don't have it up.
Oh, put it down. Very good. Better.
We don't have witness.
If you don't have witness, then you don't have proof.
Okay.
Any other property damage? Shattered window? Anything else?
It was a broke lock. The day that she was, can I say this?
No. I'm very easy.
No, I'm saying the day that she came out and sent the police to our facility on a Saturday, the lock, I saw her leaving that day, and our lock was broken off of our gate.
All I want to know is, did anyone witness her
Actually witnessed
either?
her, no.
Then the answer is no. Do you have any security footage of her?
I do.
Put your hand down.
She said she had.
Put your hand down.
You're going to see the video.
No.
Not the video. She stated in a document she had video of it.
Just a second.
Oh, gosh.
I don't think you understand the court process. So I'm not going to tell you. I've dismissed your case, and I'm getting very close to dismissing hers. I'm dismissing those parts of her complaint which allege property damage because she has no witnesses that you, in fact, committed property damage. There's no reason for you to continue looking up papers. Your case is dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. It's about
very
your case.
clearly. Now, the last part of this case has to do with the defendant's allegation that you, in fact, defamed her organization. I'd like to see in writing what you have to prove to me that the plaintiff defamed your organization.
Yes,
I want you to... I didn't ask you for anything. Now it's her proof. Do you understand? What I'm telling you, Ms. Horn, is your behavior is a little off. I'm telling you.
Because I was framed.
Just a second. Your behavior is off. And I've told you why. I've given you specific reasons why. You had two parts of your complaint. One is for wages, which I dismissed, and the other one for calling you a drug addict, which you could not prove. No. You're not hearing me. I asked you for proof that she called you a drug addict. You didn't have it. Now, proof that she defamed your organization. May I have it, Kevin?
This is from her and her father. And
just a second. Her father isn't a party to this action.
Can I speak to the counterclaim? Because I have proof from her. Sure. Her text. It's her text.
This is from him. I'm not interested in anything from him. Sue him if he said nasty things to you.
Your Honor, it's just not nasty things. This all came about because of everything that Sherna has done, and she doesn't realize is that...
Listen to me.
Yes.
None of this comes from her.
She's on it. Her name is on there.
I don't care whether her name is on it. None of this comes from her. They CC'd her.
This is proof.
Put everything away. Put all your papers away. I'm not coming back to you unless I, in fact, see that there's any validity towards her counterclaim. Then I'll come back to you. Right now, your claim is dismissed. Both counts of your claim is dismissed. I've dismissed her claims for shattered window and a broken lock. And these emails do not represent any form of defamation. If you have nothing else, your claim for defamation is dismissed. Do you have anything else? The answer is yes or no.
No, Your
No.
Honor.
We're done.
Easy.
Thank you. Bye.
you.
This court is adjourned.
Thank you.
The court proceedings began with the case of Tina and Herman Smuy versus their former son-in-law, Dalton McDonald. The Smuy's were suing McDonald for unpaid loans, specifically related to rent and the balance of a truck. The judge inquired about the details of the marriage, separation, and custody arrangements. According to the Smuy's, their daughter was married to Dalton McDonald for 5 years until their separation in 2020. The couple had 2 children, aged 5 and 8, with Dalton having physical custody. The focus of the lawsuit was a truck purchased during the marriage in June 2017, which the Smuy's co-signed for. They claimed that Dalton owed them money for the truck and unpaid rent. The judge scrutinized the Smuy's claims, especially regarding the payments made on the truck. The Smuy's asserted that they had been making all the car payments since the truck's purchase in 2017, with no direct payments from their daughter and son-in-law. The judge, however, expressed skepticism about the lack of receipts and requested evidence of payments. The Smuys presented a ledger as proof of payments, but the judge dismissed it as self-serving and created solely for the litigation. The judge emphasized the need for authentic evidence, such as copies of checks, to support the claims. The discussion then shifted to the truck status after the couple's separation. The Smuys mentioned that Dalton took the truck with their daughter's consent when he assumed custody of the children in 2020. The judge questioned why the Smuys didn't intervene during the divorce proceedings to address the outstanding debt on the truck. As the conversation continued, the judge became increasingly critical of the Smuys case. They were unable to provide concrete evidence of the payments made by Dalton, and the judge dismissed their ledger as insufficient. The Smuys also faced scrutiny for allegedly taking money directly from their daughter's paycheck without proper documentation. The judge questioned the legitimacy of the Smuys claims, particularly regarding the sale of a boat to Dalton. The Smuys insisted that the boat sale had settled the remaining balance on the truck. However, the judge found their narrative unconvincing, raising doubts about the credibility of the entire lawsuit. The Smuys then discussed unpaid rent for a farmhouse they had rented out to their daughter and Dalton. The judge pointed out that the rent-related claims should have been addressed during the divorce proceedings. The Smuys revealed that they had not yet served their daughter with a summons, further undermining the timeliness and validity of their lawsuit. The judge concluded that the lawsuit was ill-advised and questioned the Smuys' motivations. He emphasized that if there were legitimate claims, they should have been addressed during the divorce process, and the delayed lawsuit only served to complicate matters. Ultimately, the judge dismissed the case, stating that the defendant did not owe any money to the Smuys. In summary, the court proceedings highlighted the lack of proper documentation and timely legal actions on the part of the Smuys, leading to the dismissal of their lawsuit against Dalton McDonald.